Have you ever noticed that the more you try to grip life with force, the more it slips through your fingers? You plan, you push, you hustle, and yet somehow things fall apart anyway. But what if the secret to true strength and lasting success isn't about control at all? What if your greatest power was calm? In this video, we'll explore 11 timeless lessons drawn straight from the heart of Stoic philosophy. Not vague inspiration, not empty motivation, but strategies battle-tested across centuries by men who faced the worst and stood unshaken. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about learning how to meet them with a still mind and a steady hand. But before we begin, let me take you back to a man named James Stockdale. A man who flew above the chaos until it brought him crashing down. And yet he rose, not because he was the strongest, but because he was calm. Let's begin. 1. Can you really control everything? You wake up early, today's the day. You've mapped it out, the morning workout, the perfect pitch at work, the peaceful dinner with someone you love. Every hour accounted for, every detail imagined. And yet by noon, it's all unraveling. Your boss drops an urgent, last-minute task onto your desk. A friend cancels plans without apology. Someone's careless comment pierces your mood like a needle through fabric. You feel frustration bubbling up like a pot left unattended. Nothing is going according to plan, and worse, no one seems to care. It's in this moment, this exact moment, where most people fall into the trap. They believe control is the solution. So they push harder. They tighten their grip on life, as if clenching the steering wheel will stop the storm outside. But life is not a machine. It's not something you can program and predict. It's more like the sea, unruly, alive, indifferent to your blueprints. And yet here we are, paddling through waves, shouting orders at the tide. Let's be honest, how many times have you silently demanded that others change to fit your vision? You wanted your partner to react the way you rehearsed in your mind. You needed your co-worker to see things from your perspective. You hoped your parents would stop worrying, your friend would stop repeating their mistakes, your colleague would finally get it. But they didn't. They don't. And the more you try to force it, the more exhausted you become. Why? Because you're not frustrated with the situation. You're frustrated with the illusion that you could control it. Naval Ravikant, a modern thinker who understands ancient truths, once said, "Suffering comes from the desire to control the uncontrollable," and Epictetus said it over 2,000 years earlier. Some things are within our control, others are not. Only those who cling to what they cannot control will suffer. The Stoics weren't telling us to be passive. They weren't asking us to sit back and let life trample us. They were inviting us to draw a boundary, a sacred mental line between what is ours and what belongs to fate. Let go of what's outside that line, and suddenly peace returns. And science echoes this. A Stanford University study placed participants in two groups. One group was given control over the outcomes of a task. The other wasn't. The result? Those who accepted uncertainty, who stopped clinging, showed lower anxiety, greater adaptability, and steadier emotions. Meanwhile, those trying to force the uncontrollable were left drained, bitter, and restless. So here's the paradox. The more you try to control everything, the more control you lose. But the moment you surrender the external, you gain complete authority over the only thing that ever mattered, yourself. Let me challenge you now, not with more theory, but with two simple practices. Challenge 1, the so what question. Next time something derails your day, stop and ask, so what, will this matter 5 years from now? Most of what hijacks your calm isn't life-changing, it's ego-threatening. If someone doesn't reply to your message, you're not late to destiny, you're just early to detachment. A plan goes sideways, You didn't lose control, you gained clarity, that the universe never promised you perfect symmetry. Challenge 2. Controlled chaos. This one might scare you. One day a week, stop planning. Don't script the day from dawn till dusk. Don't stack appointments back to back. Don't cling to certainty. Instead, sail. Let the wind take you. Move through the day with curiosity, not control. Why? Because in releasing control, you learn to adapt, not just survive chaos, but dance with it. Life is not a chessboard with fixed rules. It's the ocean, ever shifting, sometimes calm, sometimes violent. Your job is not to command the waves, but to master your sail. So stop wasting your energy trying to choreograph the movements of everyone else. Stop tying your peace to outcomes that aren't yours to decide. Instead, narrow your focus. Not to the world outside, but the world within. That is where real control lives. That is where calm is born. And from that calm, the kind of success no storm can shake. 2. Calm is your greatest weapon. Picture this. You're gripping the wheel of a Formula One car. The engine howls like a wild beast. The asphalt ahead shimmers in the heat. You're seconds away from victory, one last turn between you and glory. And then it happens. The tires lose traction, the world spins. Your control vanishes. In that razor-thin moment, you're left with two choices. 1. Panic, react, flinch, let fear hijack your hands. You jerk the wheel, the car skids, the dream vanishes in a puff of gravel and smoke. 2. Breathe, observe, adjust. Not with fear, but with awareness. You ease off, you correct with precision, and you stay on track. That moment between panic and poise is where lives are decided, where empires rise or fall, where success either collapses or is quietly, firmly claimed. Stoics knew this long before race cars and neuroscience. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the most powerful empire on earth, once wrote, "If you are disturbed by something external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." He wasn't speaking from a throne of comfort. He was writing during plagues, wars, betrayal, and loss, and yet he held the reins of his mind like a master charioteer, never letting fear steer his decisions. Fast forward to now, modern science confirms what the ancients intuited. Neuroscientists at the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience in London have shown that when we react emotionally, when we lash out or collapse, it's the amygdala speaking, the primitive part of our brain hardwired for survival. But when we pause, when we breathe, when we respond with clarity instead of reaction, another part awakens. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, the mind of the philosopher. Calm isn't passive, it's not weakness, it's precision under fire. It's the stillness of a sniper, the breath before the punch, the pause before a wise word. And here's where most people misunderstand. They think calm is something you try to have during a crisis. But no warrior sharpens their sword in the middle of battle. No Stoic builds their discipline only when the storm hits. Calm is trained, forged, practiced daily in the small, insignificant moments most people overlook. So next time you drop your groceries, spill coffee on your shirt, or get cut off in traffic, don't curse the moment. Seize it. That's your dojo. That's where the real training happens. If you can't keep your center when the eggs hit the floor, how will you stay grounded when life truly spins? Calm is a muscle, and every little moment is a rep. You want to lead, influence, succeed? Then learn to be the eye of the storm. Because in a world full of people shouting to be heard, the one who stays silent and grounded will always be the one they turn to when the dust settles. That's not just Stoic philosophy, that's real power. 3. Think well and attract the best. The quality of your life is never higher than the quality of your thoughts. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it's one of the deepest truths ever uttered, and the Stoics knew it centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher who bore the weight of Rome on his shoulders, who faced war, betrayal, plague, and loss, still found time to remind himself, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not your wealth, not your relationships, not even your circumstances, but the thoughts you allow to take root in the soil of your mind. Because what you think, you become. What you focus on, you feel. What you repeat, you eventually live. From suffering to awareness. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine once received a diagnosis that shook the ground beneath him. A serious illness, the kind that places your entire existence under review. The future, once a straight path, became fog. The body, once taken for granted, became unfamiliar. His mind, a storm of what-ifs. What if I never recover? What if I lose everything? Why me? These weren't just questions. They were weights, anchors, dragging him deeper into despair with each passing day. And then, one afternoon, in a sterile hospital waiting room, he heard a voice. Not divine, not mystical, but a simple quote in a podcast, playing faintly from a nearby phone. Tony Robbins, a man often dismissed for his boldness, said one sentence: "The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts." That line struck him like lightning. It wasn't new, but suddenly it was alive. He remembered something deeper, something older. Marcus Aurelius had said almost the same thing nearly 2,000 years ago, and unlike Tony Robbins, Marcus wasn't selling inspiration. He was surviving an empire. That day, my friend made a quiet decision. He couldn't change his condition, but he could change his perspective. So, every morning, he began his day with a new ritual. Today, I will choose one thought that serves me. Today, I will search for what is good. Today, I will not surrender to fear. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, something shifted. His diagnosis didn't vanish, but his identity stopped revolving around it. He started laughing again. Small laughs, but real. He started noticing the sky, the warmth of tea, the softness in someone's eyes. And most importantly, he started thinking thoughts that led him, not trapped him. Thoughts shape your inner architecture. Here's the truth. Your thoughts are not private, they are not harmless. They build the invisible architecture of your day, your posture, your decisions, your reactions. If you wake up thinking, "Nothing ever works out for me," then your brain scans the world for evidence to prove it right. If instead you wake up thinking, "Today might hold something unexpected and good," your eyes and ears begin looking for that too. The mind is a filter, and you are the one choosing the lens, rewiring the mental machinery. You don't need to wait for a life crisis to begin reclaiming your mental terrain. Start today with intention, with precision. Here's how. 1. Reframe your inner monologue. Catch yourself when a thought drags you down. Don't deny the emotion, redirect the interpretation. Instead of, "This is a disaster," say, "This is a test. I'm learning something through it." Instead of, "I can't handle this," say, "This is difficult, but I've handled worse." You're not pretending. You're training your mind to stay on your side. 2. Detox your mental environment. Your thoughts aren't born in a vacuum. They're shaped by what you consume, conversations, social feeds, voices you follow. If you surround yourself with people who gossip, complain, and predict failure, don't be surprised if your inner world starts echoing the same poison. Audit your environment. Curate your inputs. Spend time with those who remind you of your strength, not your limitations. Seek thinkers, seek builders, seek calm. 3. Visualize strength like a sculptor shapes marble. This isn't fluff, it's neuroscience. When you vividly imagine yourself acting with poise, strength, grace, your brain fires the same neurons as if you were actually doing it. So before stepping into your day, see yourself winning inwardly. Picture yourself in that meeting, speaking clearly. Picture yourself in that moment of conflict, breathing deeply. Picture yourself in solitude, not lonely, but powerful. Rehearse success, not fear. Rehearse clarity, not chaos. Let your mind become familiar with the future you want to live. You think you invite. Your thoughts are magnets, not in a magical sense, but in the sense that they direct your perception, your posture, and your presence. People feel the energy of someone who's grounded. Life opens to the person who carries calm, like a quiet sword at their side. So I ask you, what are you programming your mind to attract? More problems or more perspective? More tension or more truth? As the Stoics taught us, a man is what he thinks about all day long. Marcus Aurelius. So think well, think clearly, think powerfully, because the world won't always be kind, but your mind can always be strong. And that quietly, slowly, inevitably attracts the very life you once thought was out of reach. 4. Be grateful before you complain. Your mind is a garden, and every thought, every emotion, every habit you plant in it will grow. The question is, are you growing roses or thorns? Most people wake up already at war with their alarm clock, with the emails they haven't checked, with the world that dares to be imperfect. Before their feet hit the floor, their thoughts are already dripping with scarcity. I need more time. I wish this wasn't my life. Everything would be better, if only. And from that moment on, they are trapped, not by reality, but by the lens they chose to wear. But here's the truth. Gratitude is not a luxury, it's a discipline. It is the daily choice to focus your mind on what strengthens you instead of what drains you. And it begins not when life is perfect, but precisely when it isn't. The science of seeing the good. Researchers at the University of Berkeley conducted a fascinating study. 2 groups. Group 1 was asked to write down 3 things they were grateful for every night, no matter how small. Group 2 had no instructions, just write anything. Weeks passed. Then came the brain scans. The result? Those who practiced gratitude lit up stronger activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and calm. It was as if their minds had been rewired for strength, not because their lives were easier, but because their attention was wiser. The second group, however, no significant change. Same storms, same complaints, same chaos. Why? Because without intention, the mind drifts to the negative by default. And let's be honest, haven't you felt that? One comment ruins your mood, one delay ruins your day. We dwell, spiral, magnify. Meanwhile, the sun still shines, someone still smiles at you, and your lungs still breathe without permission. But you miss it, because the weeds of complaint grow fast when left unchecked. The Stoic wisdom of gratitude. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest minds, once wrote, "It is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us happy." To the Stoic, gratitude wasn't some feel-good sentiment reserved for holidays. It was armor, a shield against resentment, envy, and mental weakness. Marcus Aurelius, waking in his cold palace, burdened by war and plague, still began his day by reflecting on the good. Not because he was naive, but because he knew a leader who cannot govern his own mindset cannot govern anything else, and neither can you. 3. Rituals to rewire your mind. Let me offer you 3 simple, powerful practices rituals, not rules, to begin reclaiming the garden of your mind. 1. Speak gratitude aloud each morning. Before the day bombards you, before the headlines, the messages, the to-do list, sit up, take a breath, and say it out loud. Thank you. Say it with your chest, with intention, with reverence. Gratitude, when spoken, activates your nervous system. It shifts your baseline from scarcity to sufficiency. You don't start the day needing to fight the world, you start knowing you're already enough to face it. 2. Write 3 new blessings each night. And I mean new. Don't just recycle "I'm grateful for family" every night. Stretch your awareness, train your mind like a spotlight searching for gold in the dark. The coffee this morning was perfect. The way the sunlight touched the leaves during lunch. The stranger who held the elevator door. Details ground you. They root your gratitude in reality. And what you acknowledge grows stronger. 3. Shift your inner dialogue from "if only" to "even though." The common voice says, "If only I had more money, time, love, then I'd be okay." The Stoic voice says, "Even though I lack this now, I am still okay, still grateful, still here." This simple mental shift rewrites your identity. You stop being a victim of the future. You become a master of the present. Let that be enough. So now I ask you, when was the last time you thanked your legs for carrying you, your hands for creating, your breath for simply arriving each moment? You chase clarity, peace, success, but overlook the truth hiding in plain sight. You already have access to what you seek, not in what you will one day gain, but in how you choose to see what you already have. Because here's the Stoic truth. Complaining changes nothing. Gratitude changes everything. So water your mind wisely, not with bitterness, but with thankfulness. And soon, even on the darkest days, you will find the light was always within reach. 5. Your attention defines your reality. Let me ask you a deceptively simple question. Where is your attention right now? Is it here, fully present? Or is it drifting, replaying yesterday's arguments, or rehearsing tomorrow's worries? You see, reality is not what happens to you. Reality is what you notice, what you give your energy to, what you choose consciously or unconsciously to see. 2 people walk down the same street. One sees traffic, noise, crowds, clutter. The other notices the way sunlight glows on windows, a child's laughter bouncing off a wall, the wind weaving through leaves. Same street, 2 entirely different worlds. So I ask again, what kind of world are you creating through your attention? The invisible filter. Your attention is not passive. It's not just what your eyes fall upon, it's what your mind lingers on. It's like an Instagram filter. The colors, the contrast, the mood, it's all determined by the lens you choose. If your mental filter is set to complaint, everything will feel like an injustice. If it's set to scarcity, everything will look insufficient. If it's set to gratitude, suddenly the world is full of gifts hiding in plain sight. This is not theory, it's practice. And the Stoics understood this better than most. Epictetus taught, "Where your attention goes, there is your soul." He wasn't being poetic. He was being precise. Because whatever you give your attention to, you give your life to. What are you feeding your mind? Every day you are feeding your mind a diet. The news you scroll, the conversations you entertain, the accounts you follow, the thoughts you rehearse in silence. And just like your body reflects what you eat, your emotions reflect what you consume mentally. Do you start your morning with notifications, outrage, and opinions? Or do you begin with breath, reflection, intention? The former will rob your peace before you even leave your bed. The latter will arm you with a shield no chaos can pierce. The power of redirecting attention. Here's something you may not realize. You have the power to shift your attention, and in doing so you shift your state. Feeling anxious? Ask, what am I focusing on right now? Is it a comment someone made? A mistake from last week? An imagined disaster next month? Now, try this. Redirect. Gently. Without judgment. Look outside. Notice the sky, the way light touches objects. Notice the sound of your breath. Notice the way your chest rises and falls without effort. You didn't change your circumstances. You simply changed what you were looking at. And instantly you changed your world. The Will Smith principle. Will Smith once said, "If you want to be happy, if you want to succeed, you have to learn to ignore distractions and focus on what really matters." It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing which ones are worth your energy. Focus is a form of spiritual discipline. In a world screaming for your attention, your ability to guard it is sacred. 3 practices to reclaim your focus. Here's how to start rebuilding the power of attention the Stoic way. 1. Mental diet. Audit what you're consuming. Reduce negative news, drama-heavy content, and gossip. Follow ideas that stretch you, people who center you, voices that calm, not agitate. Ask yourself, is this nourishing my mind or cluttering it? 2. Attention reset. When you find yourself spiraling into negative thoughts, interrupt the pattern. Stand up, walk outside, take a breath. Literally shift your physical environment to shift your internal state. Ask better questions. What is one thing I can appreciate right now? What can I learn from this moment? Questions direct attention. Attention shapes experience. 3. Choose expansive company. Surround yourself with people who elevate conversations, who don't just talk about others but about ideas, who reflect back to you not chaos, but clarity. If your attention is always hijacked by complaints, anger, or fear, it's time to change the room. Focus is power. Here's a truth most people overlook. What you focus on expands. Not because of magic, but because of neurological momentum. Focus gives form, and form gives meaning, and meaning creates your felt experience of life. So the question isn't, is life stressful? The question is, what part of life am I focusing on right now? Let me leave you with this Stoic reflection. Your mind is a garden. Attention is the water, and your thoughts, they are the seeds. What you water will grow. What you ignore will wither. So choose wisely. Direct your attention toward what strengthens you, not what drains you. Because in the end, reality is not what happens around you. It is what you choose to see. 6. Your mornings shape your destiny. How you start your morning is how you shape your fate. Not metaphorically, literally. Because your first thoughts don't just influence your mood, they ignite a chain reaction that either elevates your day or quietly sabotages it. Think about it. What is the very first thing you do when you open your eyes? Do you reach for your phone like a reflex? Do you scroll through noise, news, opinions, notifications, problems that aren't even yours? Do you rush, already behind, already tense, already mentally exhausted before your body has left the bed? If so, you're not waking up, you're surrendering. You're not beginning the day. The day is beginning, you on its terms, not yours. The illusion of control begins with chaos. Let me paint you a picture. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wakes up in 2025. The first thing he sees is a glowing screen. Notifications from the Senate, criticism from strangers, news of war, of plague, of chaos, all before he's even stretched his limbs. His morning has been hijacked by voices that do not belong to him. Meanwhile, in another room, Seneca awakens. He does not move quickly, he does not reach outward, he begins inward. A breath, a reflection, a journal entry. Today I will meet adversity with composure. Today I will train my judgment. Today I will guard my peace. Same era, different timelines. One man is reacting to life, the other is designing it. Who are you when you wake up? Mornings as ritual, not routine. The Stoics viewed the morning as a sacred threshold, a moment where the mind is soft, moldable, clear. Seneca said, "The part of life we really live is small, for all the rest of existence is not life, but merely time." So how do you begin the part of life that's truly yours? Not with panic, not with noise, but with presence. Your morning should not be a sprint, it should be a ceremony. The neuroscience behind the Stoic morning. Modern science affirms what the ancients practiced. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, an expert in wellness and mental resilience, conducted a study showing that people who begin their day without external stimulus, no screens, no information overload, demonstrate lower cortisol levels, sharper focus, greater adaptability under stress, a 30% higher likelihood to follow through on meaningful tasks. In short, how you start determines how you continue. The morning that builds you, a Stoic blueprint. Let's be practical. Here's how to reclaim your mornings. Not with perfection, but with intention. 1. Do not touch your phone for 30 minutes. Yes, even if it itches in your hand. The moment you look at your phone, you are no longer sovereign. You've allowed external voices into the most fragile state of your consciousness. Instead, begin with stillness. Sit on your bed, breathe deeply, give your brain the gift of undisturbed silence, a clean canvas. 2. Do one thing with intention. It could be anything, but it must be done with presence. Make your bed, stretch, brew your coffee with care, write down a thought in a notebook, stand in the sun. What matters is not what you do, but how you do it. Let this act anchor you. Let it whisper, "I choose how I move through this day." 3. Visualize the day you want to live. Close your eyes and see it. How do you want to feel today? What kind of energy do you want to carry into each space you enter? How will you respond when something inevitable goes wrong? Don't fantasize, rehearse. Athletes visualize the race, leaders visualize the room, warriors visualize the battle. You visualize the inner posture you will maintain no matter what arrives. You are what you repeat. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And your morning system is your first battleground. Each rushed, reactive morning reinforces anxiety, chaos, and confusion. Each intentional, centered morning rewires your nervous system toward clarity, calm, and courage. The Stoics didn't wait for peace to arrive, they created it at dawn. So tomorrow, when the sun rises, don't let the world start you. Start the world. Step into it with steady breath, clear mind, and a quiet knowing. I am not a servant to the storm. I am the one who walks through it. 7. If you don't rest, your mind shuts down. We live in a culture that worships exhaustion, where being busy is worn like a badge of honor, where rest is mistaken for weakness, where silence is suspicious and stillness feels like laziness. But let me ask you, how often do you feel truly clear? Not just awake, but alive. Not just functioning, but focused. If you're honest, the answer is rare. Because most people are living in a state of constant mental depletion, running on caffeine, notifications, and noise. Their minds, once sharp, creative, thoughtful, are now foggy, scattered, reactive. And the reason is simple: they don't know how to rest. Your mind is not a machine. Imagine this. You wake up tired, already checking your phone. By mid-morning, you're juggling tasks, bouncing from email to message to meeting. Your brain, your most powerful tool, is processing non-stop without pause. You push through lunch, ignore the fatigue, tell yourself, just one more hour. And suddenly you're staring blankly at the screen, reading the same sentence 5 times, unable to think clearly. But you don't stop. You pour another coffee. You open another tab. You push harder. Let me be clear, this is not strength, it's sabotage. Your mind is not a machine. It's not built for endless output. It needs recovery, reflection. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, knew this. In his meditations, he reminded himself to retreat inward, to pause often, to guard his peace like a fortress. And Seneca put it even more directly. Even the sharpest sword must be rested to keep its edge. The Stoics understood, rest is not the opposite of effort. It is what makes effort sustainable. The neuroscience of rest. Modern science now echoes what ancient wisdom taught. Your brain is like a whiteboard. Each thought, decision, stressor, another scribble, another mark. Without rest, the board becomes cluttered. Nothing is clear, no room remains. But when you sleep deep, undisturbed rest, your mind wipes the board clean. You regain space, you process, you file memories, you sharpen your edge. Sleep doesn't slow you down. It prepares you to rise again, sharper than before. And yet we resist it. Why? Because we've been sold a lie. That working more means doing more. That success is a race of endless motion. But look at the greatest athletes. They don't train every hour. They recover intentionally. They rest like it's part of the mission, because it is. You are the athlete of your own life. And without proper rest, you're not competing, you're collapsing. 3 Stoic practices to reclaim mental clarity. If your mind feels frayed, burned out, scattered, don't wait for a breakdown to remember the value of stillness. Begin now. 1. Honor the evening. Before sleep, create a moment of intentional closure. No screens, no scrolling. Instead, breathe, reflect, read something that feeds your soul. Write down your thoughts to release them from circling your mind. This simple shift signals your brain, it's safe to let go now. 2. Create white space in your day. Every hour doesn't need to be booked. Every silence doesn't need to be filled. Block 30 minutes, no tasks, no input, just silence. A walk, a deep breath by the window. This isn't idle time, it's where insight lives. Seneca called it time for the self, and it's sacred. 3. Listen to the whisper before it screams. When your body says, I need a break, believe it. When your mind feels foggy, don't power through. Too many people wait until their body forces rest through illness, or their mind forces it through anxiety or burnout. Don't wait for the crash. Choose recovery before you're forced into it. Stillness is strength. Let me be clear. The Stoics were not monks removed from society. They were leaders, warriors, emperors, fathers, men and women, immersed in the intensity of life. And yet they paused, they wrote, they reflected, they walked in silence. They guarded their peace not as luxury but as responsibility. You want to lead, you want to serve, you want to build something meaningful? Then you must rest, because a tired mind makes poor decisions. An overwhelmed soul forgets what matters, and a restless body cannot carry the weight of a great mission. So tonight, when the day is done, don't just collapse into sleep like a soldier wounded in battle. Enter it like a warrior returning to the temple, with gratitude, with presence, with the wisdom to know rest is not retreat, it is recalibration. And when you rise, you'll be sharper, steadier, and ready to meet life, not with exhaustion, but with excellence. 8. What you visualize, you build. Close your eyes. Now picture the life you want, not just the surface, the cars, the home, the applause, but the feeling that anchors it all. What does peace look like for you? What does strength feel like in your chest? What does confidence sound like when it speaks through your voice? Can you see it? Because if you can't visualize it, you'll never realize it. The architecture of the mind. Your brain is not just a processor, it's a builder. And like any builder, it follows blueprints. The images you rehearse in your mind over and over again become instructions. And whether they're rooted in fear or in purpose, your mind will try to build what you feed it. That's why the Stoics warned us to guard the gates of imagination. Epictetus said, "What you feed your mind becomes your reality." If you constantly replay what could go wrong, don't be surprised when your life begins to mirror anxiety. If you always imagine being rejected, betrayed, humiliated, your posture will adapt to avoid pain, not pursue purpose. But if you learn to deliberately direct the mind, to see possibility, to feel courage in advance, then slowly, reality begins to bend in that direction. Because visualization isn't fantasy. It's mental rehearsal. It's leadership of the self. The reticular activation system. Why it works. There's a mechanism in your brain called the reticular activating system, RAS. It acts like a filter, sorting through the billions of data points around you and choosing which ones to highlight. And do you know how it decides? You focus on what you visualize, what you tell it to look for. That's why the moment you decide you want a certain car, you start seeing it everywhere. Not because it magically appears, but because your brain has been told, this matters, highlight it. Now imagine what happens when you do this with purpose, with strength, with confidence. You start seeing opportunities instead of threats. You notice open doors instead of locked ones. You focus on solutions, not setbacks. The outer world doesn't change, but your relationship to it transforms completely. The Stoic way to visualize with precision. Unlike modern law of attraction trends that turn visualization into vague wish-making, Stoic visualization is grounded. It's not about sitting in a chair and dreaming of a mansion. It's about mentally walking through the work, the process, the resistance, and seeing yourself move through it with strength. It's tactical, it's disciplined, it's rehearsal for the battlefield of life. Here's how to practice it. 1. Visualize the process, not just the outcome. Don't just see the success, see the effort. If your goal is a stronger body, don't just imagine the results, imagine the sweat, the early mornings, the sore muscles. If your goal is emotional control, don't just imagine yourself calm. Visualize the moment someone disrespects you and you choose silence over rage. That's the Stoic edge. You train not for reward, but for the response. 2. Engage all senses. The more vivid the image, the more powerful the command. When visualizing, ask yourself, what do I hear? What do I feel in my body? What does the air smell like? What colors surround me? How do I breathe when I'm in control? Turn the scene from abstract into visceral. Because your brain doesn't distinguish clearly between imagined experience and real experience. So give it a real training ground. 3. Reinforce with your environment. Surround yourself with symbols and stimuli that echo your vision. A quote on your wall. A single word written on your mirror. A song that brings you back to center. A daily note in your journal, here is who I am becoming. These reminders recalibrate your brain over and over until the future you're building becomes the present you're living. Your mind is a sculptor. Give it something to shape. Leonardo da Vinci didn't wait for inspiration. He drew endlessly. He saw machines that didn't exist and then sketched them into existence. You must do the same with your life. If you don't design your inner reality, your outer world will be built on accident or worse, on fear. So each morning, sit with your vision, not to escape reality, but to rehearse greatness, to build the muscle memory of strength, poise, purpose. Because what the mind rehearses, the body executes. And what you visualize consistently, you become, inevitably. Let me leave you with this. You already have the tools. You already have the ability to picture what others can't yet see. So use it not to run from reality, but to build it. And remember, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So think clearly, visualize powerfully, and build boldly. Because what you can see within, you can create without. 9. Breathe and take back control. When life begins to spin, when your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and your vision narrows, you will be tempted to fight the world. To shout, to react, to strike back or shut down. But the Stoics understood something most modern minds have forgotten. Power is not found in the first impulse, power is found in the pause. And the most powerful pause in the human experience is the breath. The breath is the gatekeeper of the mind. You may think breathing is automatic, involuntary, background noise. But in Stoic philosophy and increasingly in neuroscience, the breath is sacred. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, between impulse and intention. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the greatest empire of his time, wrote in Meditations, "Calm yet determined, cheerful yet steady, that is the man who follows reason in all things." But how does one become calm in the fire? How does one remain steady when the world wobbles? It begins always with the breath. Because when chaos strikes, your breath is the first thing that betrays you. It shortens, it tightens. And like a signal flare, it tells your nervous system, danger is here, even when there's no lion in the room, only a stressful email or a raised voice. But here's the miracle. You can reverse that signal. By breathing slowly, deeply, intentionally. You tell your brain, we are safe, we are aware, we will choose. And suddenly you are no longer the victim of your biology. You become the master of it. The game is won in the pause. Picture this. You're in the heat of an argument. Someone says something cruel, unfair. Your heart rate spikes. Your face flushes. Your mind prepares a retaliation. This is the moment of truth. Do you unleash the first sharp sentence that crosses your mind and become a slave to the situation? Or do you breathe? Just one breath, one moment of stillness, one refusal to let the other person control your state. That breath becomes a wall between the event and your reaction, between emotion and action, between who you were and who you could be. Poker, pressure and poise. The Stoics were not gamblers, but they would have admired the game of poker. Because in poker, as in life, the one who panics loses. It's not about the hand you're dealt. It's about how calmly you play it. Beginners sweat, they fidget, they show their cards in their breath. But the professional, he breathes, he watches, he waits. He does not blink, he does not reveal. And in that silence, he wins not because of luck, but because of control. Life is no different. Your cards may be chaos, but your breath. That's the tell, that's the leverage, that's where your freedom lives. The 4-7-8 technique, reset the system. Want a practical way to reclaim your mind? Try this. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 7 seconds. Exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Repeat 3 times. This simple practice signals your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, to take charge. It's like pressing reset on a stormy mind. Do this in moments of stress, do it before big meetings, do it when the world feels too loud. And over time, you won't just survive hard moments, you'll move through them with precision and poise. compassion as control. Here's another Stoic truth. Not every attack requires a counterattack. When someone lashes out at you, pauses are not weakness. They are insight. Because most people don't hurt you from clarity, they hurt you from confusion, pain, or fear. Their chaos is leaking. Don't absorb it, don't match it, don't mirror it. Instead, see it for what it is, a human being, untrained in stillness. And then breathe for both of you. That's not passivity, that's leadership. He who breathes, leads. In the modern world, we often associate strength with speed, with dominance, with saying the last word. But the Stoic knows, who controls his breath controls his mind, and he who controls his mind controls his life. So next time you feel the wave of emotion rise, before the reply, before the decision, before the spiral, breathe. And remember, the one who breathes first wins. The one who pauses chooses. The one who stays calm when provoked holds true power. Because life will test you. People will trigger you. And your own mind will try to betray you. But if you can control one thing, just one, let it be your breath. That small, invisible choice may be the only control you have. But it is also the only control you truly need. 10. You use your hands, you calm your mind. There are moments in life when the mind becomes too loud to reason with, when thoughts race like wild horses across your chest, when emotions swirl like a storm you can't see through, when thinking more only makes it worse. And in those moments, the wisest thing you can do is to stop thinking and start doing. Not talking, not analyzing, not scrolling, but something older, something truer, something profoundly human. Use your hands. Da Vinci's quiet genius. Leonardo da Vinci was not just a painter or inventor. He was a man perpetually restless in mind but grounded in motion. When his thoughts tangled, he sketched. When he was stuck, he sculpted. When ideas overwhelmed him, he used his hands to return to himself. He understood something we've forgotten. The mind doesn't always need more answers. Sometimes it needs a different rhythm. Thoughts move fast, hands move slow. And in that slowness, clarity returns. The Stoic link between action and clarity. Stoicism is often misunderstood as purely intellectual men in togas writing meditations in solitude. But Stoic wisdom is deeply active. Marcus Aurelius didn't just sit with his thoughts, he ruled an empire. Epictetus didn't just lecture, he lived as a freed slave who walked his talk. Seneca didn't just write, he practiced discipline through small embodied rituals. They understood that philosophy wasn't just to be read, it was to be done. And when the mind became clouded, their answer wasn't always another thought. It was a physical return to the present. Because when you engage the body, when you move with intention, you invite the mind to follow. Your hands as anchors. Your hands are sacred instruments. They build, repair, shape and soothe. And when life feels scattered, when your thoughts become untamed, using your hands in a grounded, focused way can feel like gathering yourself back into one piece. Think of the last time you washed dishes with care, gardened under the sun, wrote a letter by hand, assembled something simple, cooked without distraction, sketched without judgment. Those weren't small tasks. They were rituals of reconnection, pulling you out of abstraction and back into embodied presence. When your world spins, create. In a world dominated by consumption, creation is medicine. You're constantly consuming. Words, images, opinions, notifications. But creation slows you down. It asks you to contribute, not absorb. To shape, not react. That's why monks rake sand, Why soldiers polish their weapons. Why Stoics journal daily, not just to think, but to move the pen. Doing something with your hands, however small, creates mental silence through motion. It's not about productivity. It's about presence. How to practice hand-based mindfulness. Here are 3 simple practices to bring your mind home through your hands. 1. Choose a hands-on ritual, 10 minutes a day. Find one thing, anything that you can do purely with your hands. It could be writing with a pen, cooking without a recipe, fixing something in your home, arranging objects, folding clothes with attention. Let this be your anchor, not for achievement, but for embodied peace. 2. Remove distractions. Let it be sacred. When you engage in your chosen activity, turn off everything else. No music, no podcast, no multitasking. Let your brain settle into a slower rhythm. Let your hands teach your mind to be here. This is not wasted time. It is mental recalibration through movement. 3. Observe what happens inside. When your hands are moving with intention, notice what happens within. Your breathing deepens, your mind quiets. Solutions you were chasing begin to appear, not because you hunted them down, but because you made space for them to land. And perhaps for the first time all day, you feel whole again. Don't overthink, just begin. Your healing doesn't have to start with a grand revelation. Sometimes it begins with picking up a pencil, chopping garlic, reorganizing a drawer, weaving order into the external world so that your internal world can breathe again. And slowly you remember, you are not your thoughts. You are not your overwhelm. You are not the chaos you're surrounded by. You are the one who creates order with your hands. You are the one who returns to stillness through motion. You are the one who, by doing, learns to simply be. So, the next time your mind feels too heavy to lift, don't analyze, don't argue, don't escape. Pick something up, shape it, build it, write it, hold it, and in the quiet rhythm of your own hands, you just might find yourself. 11. Seek silence, find answers. Noise is the modern plague. It's not just the sound of traffic, notifications, or endless chatter. It's the constant interruption of presence, the erosion of stillness. You open your eyes in the morning and the world barges in. Your phone flashes. Your thoughts accelerate. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind is already crowded. And from that moment on, you are no longer alone with yourself. You are surrounded not by people, but by pressure. Not by danger, but by distraction. The Stoics would call this condition by its real name, mental slavery, because the man who cannot hear his own thoughts belongs to the noise. The fear of silence. Most people don't avoid silence because they're too busy. They avoid it because it's confronting. Silence has a way of turning the volume up on what's buried. Old regrets, future fears, uncomfortable truths. So instead, we flood our hours with noise. Podcasts in the background, music in the shower, news while eating, screens until sleep. But here's what no one tells you. Silence is not empty. It is the space where everything begins to make sense. The protagonist who found herself in quiet. In the film Eat, Pray, Love, the main character leaves behind everything, her job, her relationships, her identity, in search of peace. And where does she find her deepest transformation? Not in the arms of another, not in another thrill, but in an ashram in India, alone, surrounded by stillness, forced to face the one person she'd avoided her whole life, herself. At first her mind rebels. The silence feels like suffocation. But eventually, as the outer world fades, the inner voice awakens. She didn't find answers. She heard them because she finally stopped talking over them. Seneca's warning. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us long ago, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But here's the hidden second half. Most of that suffering is born from an untrained, noisy mind, a mind that never slows down, never reflects, never breathes in its own stillness. So what did Seneca do? He built silence into his life, not to escape the world, but to engage it with clarity. He took walks without distraction. He journaled without censorship. He listened deeply to what his own conscience whispered. Because Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about creating enough stillness to observe it without drowning in it. The neuroscience of solitude. Modern studies confirm what the Stoics practiced intuitively. A research team at Duke University explored how silence affects the brain. Their discovery? Periods of uninterrupted silence activate the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for insight, memory consolidation, and deep problem solving. It's like organizing a messy room. In the noise, everything is scattered. In silence, things start to find their place. Patterns emerge, solutions appear, tension dissolves. Practices for seeking silence. You don't need to retreat to a monastery. You need to reclaim your space moment by moment. Here's how. 1. Daily disconnection, 30 minutes minimum. Find one window of time each day to unplug completely. No screens, no music, no voices. Just you, your breath, your thoughts. Let the first few minutes be uncomfortable. That's the detox. Beyond it lies something deeper, the sound of your own wisdom. 2. Silent walking. Go for a walk, no headphones, no phone, just awareness. Notice your steps, the sound of leaves, the shape of clouds. The world will begin to feel less like background noise and more like a living mirror of your state. 3. Write what surfaces. When silence begins to speak, listen. Keep a notebook nearby. Jot down ideas, memories, worries, or recurring thoughts. This process isn't about solving everything. It's about clearing space so clarity can enter. Over time, you'll notice patterns in your thinking, and with that awareness comes something precious, discernment. Silence is the training ground of strength. In a world obsessed with productivity, silence looks like weakness. But in Stoicism, silence is the discipline before the decision. It is where temper is tamed, where judgment is refined, where intention is reborn. The Stoic doesn't react from noise. He responds from calm. And that calm is not stumbled upon. It is cultivated in silence. So let me leave you with this. If you cannot sit alone with your thoughts, then your life will always be shaped by the thoughts of others. If you cannot tolerate stillness, you will mistake motion for meaning and busyness for progress. But if you can pause, even for a moment, and embrace the quiet, you will begin to remember who you are when the world isn't talking over you. Because, in the end, all of man's misfortune comes from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone. Blaise Pascal. The Stoics knew it. Now it's your turn to live it. So now you know. Real success isn't built in moments of chaos. It's built in how you meet those moments with breath, with stillness, with strength that doesn't need to shout. You've learned that calm is a weapon, not a weakness. That you don't need to control everything, only your response. That gratitude rewires the brain. That your thoughts, attention, breath, and even your hands are tools to return to clarity. The Stoics didn't promise an easy life, but they offered a better one, rooted in presence, discipline, and purpose. And now the question isn't, will life test you? It will. The question is, will you be ready? Because the one who keeps calm, the one who sees clearly, the one who breathes before reacting, That person becomes unshakable. That person becomes free. If this video gave you even one moment of insight, of stillness, of strength, then join us. Comment below with the words, "I choose calm to guide my success." Let the world know that you walk the Stoic path, not just in theory, but in practice. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and explore our Stoic playlist filled with tools to help you rise above chaos and build the life only you can live. And until next time, stay grounded, stay calm, stay free. Your success doesn't begin in the world, it begins within.